Hell Motel continues its reign of terror in its fourth episode, Devil in the Details, delivering another round of blood-soaked mayhem that pushes the remaining guests closer to their breaking point. The episode wastes no time thrusting viewers back into the nightmare, opening with a gruesome scene of Crow, the self-proclaimed medium, barely clinging to life with multiple nails hammered into his skull. As his fellow guests debate whether to remove the nails, Crow can only weakly repeat the phrase, "It's bad for me," leaving everyone unsure of how to help the dying man. This disturbing opener sets the tone for what proves to be the most revealing and violent episode of the series so far. The survivors are still reeling from the previous deaths, with Paige specifically mentioning how Hemingway the chef was boiled to death and Portia's heart was literally ripped out after she was accused of not having one. These deaths aren't random acts of violence but pointed and sickly poetic murders that correspond to something about each victim. This pattern suggests that whoever is behind these killings knows the guests intimately and has planned each death with meticulous attention to detail. The symbolism isn't lost on the remaining guests, who begin to wonder what horrifying fate awaits them if they become the next target. As the group debates what to do with Crow's body, we're introduced to Kawaiian, an artist who takes photos of the crime scenes and incorporates actual blood into his artwork. His fascination with death and his unusual artistic process immediately raise red flags for some of the other guests. While some view his work as a legitimate way to document the horrors unfolding at the motel, others, particularly Floyd, see his behavior as disrespectful and possibly suspicious. The tension between these characters highlights the growing paranoia among the group, with everyone becoming a potential suspect in the eyes of the others. In a shocking twist, Crow, who had been presumed near death, is discovered still alive by one of the characters. Instead of helping him, this person decides to deliver Crow from his suffering by violently snapping his neck, taunting him with the line, "Now you can really talk to the dead." This brutal act confirms what viewers have suspected. There's at least one killer hiding among the guests. The episode begins to peel back the layers on the killer's identities through a series of flashbacks that reveal two characters as Satanists who had previously planned to summon the demon Baphomet using blood sacrifices. These flashbacks provide crucial context for the current murders. We see a younger Floyd being approached by a woman fascinated by Satanism and questioning traditional religious beliefs. The woman has researched the Key of Solomon and brings a neighbor's cat as an offering for a ritual summoning of Baphomet. Floyd, seemingly experienced in occult practices, guides her through the ritual, though it's unclear if anything supernatural actually occurred. What is clear, however, is that these two characters have been planning something sinister for years, culminating in their arrival at the Cold River Motel, a location where ley lines converge, creating a powerful energy center for their demonic summoning. As the storm outside intensifies, the remaining guests face a critical decision: stay at the motel and wait for help, or brave the elements and trek 25 miles to the nearest town. Floyd advocates for leaving, arguing that one killer would have difficulty targeting a group moving together in the open. Others, including a character named Adriana, believe staying put and waiting for the storm to pass makes more sense. This debate splits the group, creating tension that the killers can exploit. The division among the guests mirrors a classic horror trope: safety in numbers versus the dangers of venturing into the unknown. The episode builds to a terrifying confrontation when Andy and Kawaiian attempt to leave the motel and are attacked by what appears to be a masked figure outside the building. Andy is injured but manages to escape back inside with Kawaiian. Their warning to the others, "Do not meet in the lobby. Baphomet's outside," sends the remaining guests into a panic. The reference to Baphomet being outside suggests either someone in a costume or, more unsettlingly, that the satanic summoning may have actually succeeded in bringing forth something supernatural. In one of the episode's most revealing scenes, we discover that two characters, who appear to be Shirley and her partner, are working together as the killers. They refer to the other guests as sheep and discuss culling the herd, viewing their murders as sacrifices for Baphomet. The female killer expresses disappointment after speaking with Kawaiian, saying he's all sound and fury, signifying nothing, and a sheep, like all the rest. This conversation confirms that the killers have been testing the other guests, perhaps looking for kindred spirits to join their cause. Their plan involves collecting blood from 6 victims for their ultimate ritual to bring forth Baphomet in a sea of blood. What follows is a sequence of exceptionally graphic violence as the male killer confronts Floyd, resulting in a brutal fight that ends with Floyd's slow, agonizing death. The scene is particularly disturbing as the female killer joins in, expressing pleasure in watching Floyd suffering with the line, "I like this part." This moment confirms that these aren't just killers but sadists who enjoy inflicting pain on their victims. The scene ends with Floyd taking his last breath as the killers celebrate another successful sacrifice. The episode also reveals the significance of the Cold River Motel in the killer's grand plan. In a flashback, we see the female character explaining to Floyd that the motel sits at a convergence point of ley lines, ancient energy pathways that, when combined with the right planetary alignment and a blood moon, could create the perfect conditions for summoning Baphomet. The fact that they specifically targeted this location for their killing spree suggests this has been a meticulously planned operation years in the making, not a random act of violence. Throughout the episode, brief flashes of the past ritual intercut with present-day scenes create a disorienting effect, blurring the line between past and present. This editing technique suggests that history is indeed repeating itself at the Cold River Motel, with the current murders mirroring the 30-year-old unsolved Satanic mass murder mentioned in the series' premise. The parallels between these two events raise questions about whether the current killers are copycats, descendants of the original killers, or perhaps the same people who somehow escaped justice 3 decades ago. The episode closes with a surprisingly intimate scene between Blake and Shirley as they play cards to distract themselves from the horror surrounding them. Shirley shares a childhood story about making popcorn that caught fire when she was only 4 years old, revealing how she learned to rely on herself from a young age. This seemingly innocent conversation takes on a sinister tone when viewers realize that Shirley is one of the killers, manipulating Blake with this false vulnerability. The scene ends with Shirley expressing remorse over how Ruby must have felt when everyone turned against her, an ironic statement given her role in the murders. Devil in the Details masterfully advances the Hell Motel storyline by confirming the presence of not one but 2 killers working together with a clear satanic motivation. The episode's title proves apt as it's the small details, the specific manner of each death, the careful planning of the rituals, the selection of the motel location, that reveal the larger demonic plot at work. The killers aren't simply murdering for pleasure. They believe they're conducting necessary sacrifices to summon Baphomet and potentially free Satan himself. The revelation that the killers are working as a team changes the dynamic for the remaining episodes. The survivors are no longer dealing with a single threat, but a coordinated effort by 2 people who have infiltrated their group. This significantly reduces their chances of survival, especially since they don't yet know who among them is responsible for the murders. The episode leaves viewers wondering how many more will die before the truth is fully revealed, and whether the supernatural elements hinted at throughout the series will manifest in more concrete ways. By the end of Devil in the Details, it's clear that the Cold River Motel is more than just a site of historical tragedy. It's a carefully chosen location for a modern-day satanic ritual that requires the blood of 6 victims. With several guests already dead and the killers becoming bolder, the remaining true crime enthusiasts find themselves unwitting participants in a real-life horror that exceeds even their morbid fascinations. As the storm continues to rage outside, trapping everyone within the motel's walls, the stage is set for even more bloodshed in the episodes to come. The line between the natural and supernatural continues to blur, leaving viewers to question whether the evil at the Cold River Motel is entirely human, or if something more sinister has indeed been summoned from beyond.